everyone, welcome back to book club. This week we're going to be kind of getting away from romance and going into more fantasy. There is romance in it, but this week we're going to be talking about someone you can build a nest in. This is what the cover looks like. I read this book in 3 different formats. I read it in physical, on my Kindle, and on my phone. I listened to the audiobook, I read it on my Kindle. I've been just so busy lately that I was trying to read this book and I just didn't have time to sit down and actually read, so I ended up listening to it, or I was on the go, so I just downloaded it onto my Kindle. For free, I might add. I have jailbroken my Kindle, so yeah, I can definitely make a video about that if anyone's interested, but I also have it on my Kindle and on my phone as well. So yeah, I'm gonna read the back of the book and then we're gonna get into it. Shishien is a shapeshifter who happily resides as an amorphous lump at the bottom of a ruined manor. When her rest is interrupted by impolite monster hunters, she constructs a body from the remains of past meals. A metal chain for a backbone, borrowed bones for limbs, and a bear trap as an extra mouth. Badly hurt by the hunters, Shishien's nursed back to health by Homily, a warm-hearted human. Homily is kind and would make a great co-parent, an ideal place to lay Shishien's eggs so their young can devour Homily from the inside out. But as they grow close, Shishien realizes that eating her girlfriend isn't an option. Just as Shishien is about to confess her identity, Homily reveals something else. She's hunting a shape-shifting monster that supposedly cursed her family. Has Shishien seen it anywhere? Shishien didn't curse anyone, so now she has to figure out why Homily's twisted family thinks she did. As Shishien hunts for the monster becomes increasingly deadly, the bigger challenge remains, learning how to build a life with, rather than in, the woman she loves. So that's the back of someone you can build a nest in. I picked up this book from Barnes & Noble because it was like their book of the month choice, and it looked really interesting when I read the back. It is considered a fantasy book, but there is romance elements in it. If you don't want any spoilers, I highly suggest this is the part where you skip to the end, and if you want spoilers, then you can stay. So, I had a hard time getting into this book at first because I was just very confused when I started reading it. That's because I hadn't actually sat down. I was on the move doing a lot of things. It wasn't because the book isn't well written. The book is very well written, and I was just kind of blown away with where it went. So Shishien wakes up and she goes and kills this guy and realizes that, you know, people are looking for him, and then she goes on this adventure because she needs to get food. She needs to get nourishment, she needs to get bones, and then they find her, kind of drop her off a cliff, and that's when she meets Homily. Homily and her nurses are back to health, and they go on this grand adventure. There are plot twists in there. I'm not going to spoil them because they're actually really good in the way that they are presented. Like, you kind of get an inkling of it during the book when you're reading it, but as you get closer to the end, it actually reveals itself, and you're like, oh shit. But in the end, they find the monster that cursed the family, and then they try to start building a family together. Try not to spoil too many things, but Shishien doesn't lay her eggs, but she does have an offspring, and then Shishien has to hibernate every winter, and as she's getting closer to winter, she's getting more worried because the offspring keeps attacking Homily, and then Shishien goes to sleep. When Shishien wakes up, she's very worried for Homily because that's her person. Anyways, they got it, and the end of the book, I'm gonna read the last little bit because it was just really cute. It said, Shishien asked, "What was it? What did you both want so badly?" Homily answered, "You." That was so cute and so sweet that they found something that they can bond over, and I think this is a really cute book. It was definitely out of my romance, everything that I normally read, but I do love fantasy, and this was just like, it was able to make my mind think differently because, oh, you think the monster's the bad guy, but the monster's not actually the bad guy. What if the monster hunters are the bad guy? So that is someone you can build a nest in. I highly recommend this book if you like fantasy and kind of like D&D-esque things. It's really cute, it's really funny, and it's a really good fantasy book. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Obviously, it's really hard for me to give anything less than that. I do have one book that I recently read. It's up on my bookshelf that I wouldn't recommend it to anyone unless you do like it. It just took me a long time to read it, and I just don't know why. But that's a story for another time. So I hope you enjoyed book club this week. I will see you guys next week for another book club. I actually haven't picked out a book that I'm going to read yet. I have a lot of options, and a lot of books behind me too that I haven't read, but I'm about to start traveling again, and so I'm trying to figure out what book I'm going to read next. If you have any recommendations, please comment below. I'm always looking for good book recs. I do like romance, I do love fantasy and horror or thriller books. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.